This is the disturbing story of former American MMA fighter Jonathan Koppenhover, better known as War Machine. He rose to fame through a reality show, built a name as a controversial fighter and adult film actor, and ultimately ended up serving a life sentence. He crafted an image of being bold, aggressive, and confrontational. That tough persona gained him fans and attention. But over time, the line between his public act and private self disappeared. He didn't just fight in the cage, his entire life became a constant fight. Before we explore the case, if you'd like to support the channel, hit the subscribe button and stay active. It really helps a lot. Now, let's get into it. Jonathan Paul Koppenhover was born on November 30th, 1981 in Simi Valley, a suburban town near Los Angeles. He was the eldest of 3 children in a working-class household. His father, of German descent, served as a dedicated officer with the Los Angeles Police Department, while his mother, of Mexican-American heritage, had worked as a nurse before quitting her job to raise the family. Jonathan, often called John, was very close with his younger brother and sister. For a while, their family life felt normal and stable. But after the birth of their youngest sibling, their mother began to suffer from severe emotional issues. She sank into depression and turned to alcohol for comfort, which soon became a daily dependency. Their father was often away working long shifts and had little idea of how bad things had become. Over time, their mother's condition declined further as she started using illegal substances. By the time John was around 10, he had taken on the role of caregiver, not just for his siblings, but for his mother too. He maintained good grades, helped with homework, cooked meals, and looked after the house. At age 13, John endured a traumatic experience that stayed with him for life. One night, while the whole family was home, his father suddenly collapsed from a heart issue. His mother, unconscious from drug use, was unable to help. John, still just a boy, called emergency services and did everything he could to save his father's life. Sadly, his efforts weren't enough. His father died before paramedics arrived. Though he'd done all he could, John carried the belief that he had failed. That sense of guilt left a lasting emotional wound. Shockingly, despite their mother's continued substance abuse, no authorities intervened to remove the children. They remained in her care, and John, still barely a teenager, effectively became the head of the household. The family survived on what little savings their father had left, while their mother spent most of her support checks on alcohol and drugs. Even in this unstable environment, John did well in school and ranked among the top of his class. Teachers praised his intelligence, drive, and quick thinking. But outside the classroom, his behavior began to shift. He grew anxious, quick-tempered, and increasingly aggressive, frequently getting into confrontations and fights. John started taking on small jobs to help support the family. At the same time, he developed a strong interest in sports, especially combat disciplines. He trained across different fighting styles, using it as a way to release anger, stay focused, and manage stress. Training became central to his life. He was in the gym every day, and his coach quickly saw his natural talent. John had serious potential, and many believed he could make it big. All the while, he continued balancing work, school, and training, remaining sharp, physically gifted, and highly driven. Despite everything he had endured, John managed to graduate high school with good grades and went on to attend college. He eventually enrolled at Dixie State University, majoring in biology. He had a sharp intellect and performed well academically, but his aggressive tendencies never really went away. Struggles with emotional control, especially anger, led to multiple run-ins with the law, including several arrests. From a young age, John had made up his mind. He wanted to become a professional fighter and pursue a career in MMA. He trained constantly and entered every competition he could, often winning. Gradually, he began attracting attention in the fighting community. His name was being mentioned more frequently, and he was edging closer to turning pro. In 2000, at 19 years old, John auditioned for the high-profile reality show The Ultimate Fighter. Modeled after shows like Big Brother, it was a hit with American audiences, but instead of regular contestants, it featured real MMA fighters competing for a UFC contract. Initially, John was rejected during casting. However, when one contestant dropped out due to injury, producers revisited past applicants and chose John to take the vacant spot. The contestants were placed in a single house under constant surveillance, with no access to phones, internet, or the outside world. The grand prize was a $1 million contract. Each week, one fighter was eliminated, not by vote, but by losing in the ring. As with many reality shows, there was no script. Producers encouraged raw emotion and drama. John quickly stood out for his bold personality and confrontational nature. Audiences loved his confidence, and he quickly gained a fan base, becoming one of the show's breakout stars. While the show was originally centered around MMA, it evolved into a high-stakes drama, where personal tensions and rivalries often took the spotlight. John gained a reputation as a hothead and provocateur, often starting fights for minimal reasons, something the producers didn't discourage. Although fans supported him, John didn't make it to the finals. He was eliminated during the 6th season, but his time on the show elevated his profile, and his MMA career picked up momentum. He made his UFC debut with a win over Jared Rollins. Competing in the welterweight division, John participated in 19 matches and won 14. Outside the cage, though his life began to spiral, his unpredictable behavior and inability to control his anger led to further legal issues. On September 22, 2007, he was arrested for assaulting a man during a parking lot argument. After knocking the man unconscious, John was taken into custody. Instead of expressing regret, he gave a controversial interview claiming he had shown restraint and could have done worse. His comments sparked public backlash and reinforced his image as volatile and dangerous. Yet this notoriety seemed to work in his favor. John embraced the role of the villain, using his reputation to stay in the headlines. His behavior drew comparisons to other polarizing fighters like Conor McGregor. By mid-2008, John legally changed his name to War Machine. He felt the name represented his personality and attitude: aggressive, intense, and suited to the violent world of professional fighting. That same year, War Machine was involved in another assault case. Once again, what started as a minor conflict escalated into a legal issue. Observers noted that he seemed to thrive on confrontation and didn't need much provocation to resort to violence. Still, despite his growing list of arrests, his MMA career continued to advance. He remained active in major promotions, earning victories and recognition. Eventually, he was invited to compete in the UFC, the sport's most prestigious league. He even earned a Knockout of the Night award, gaining praise for his performance inside the octagon. In 2009, John made an unexpected announcement. He planned to pursue acting, but not in the traditional sense. He chose to enter the adult entertainment industry. With his rugged looks, youthful appeal, and athletic build, John quickly stood out on screen. His performances gained attention, and his adult film career soon became as well known as his MMA record. In his first year, he appeared in 13 films, often alongside established stars. He managed to juggle both his fighting and film careers, while also landing endorsement deals that brought in substantial income. However, his success was once again overshadowed by controversy. In August 2010, John was arrested following a violent altercation at a California nightclub. He physically assaulted another guest, and the seriousness of the incident left little room for leniency. He received a 1-year jail sentence. Soon after, additional charges surfaced, and his sentence was extended to 2 years and 2 months, with parole eligibility after 1 year. While incarcerated, John's aggressive behavior continued. He frequently got into fights and was eventually labeled high risk, spending most of his time in solitary confinement. By then, it was clear his aggression was more than just part of his public image. Many began to see it as a deeper issue, possibly stemming from emotional instability or the pressures of fame. After his release, John returned to MMA and claimed several notable wins over fighters like Roger Wetter, Blosser, and Von Anderson. Around the same time, he launched a personal blog and social media page where he shared thoughts, stories, and reflections directly with fans. Within days, tens of thousands had subscribed. His fan base was broad. Some followed his MMA career, others were drawn by his adult film work, and many were simply intrigued by the controversies surrounding him since reality TV. In 2011, John launched his own athletic and casual clothing line, known for its bold designs and aggressive slogans promoting an alpha male image. Sold mainly online, the brand quickly gained traction. John remained confrontational, even in his video blogs. He often vented about his anger issues and those who irritated him, sometimes threatening to use violence if provoked. On occasion, he filmed heated arguments with random strangers in public. By 2013, John had reached the height of his adult film career. He appeared regularly in productions and took part in provocative photo shoots for major magazines. During one of these shoots, he met model Christine McKin, known by her stage name, Christy Mack. Despite being 11 years younger, the two shared immediate chemistry and quickly began a passionate relationship. Born in 1992 in a small Indiana town, she came from a humble background with no ties to the entertainment world. Former classmates described her as quiet, kind, and responsible. She loved literature, focused on school, and enjoyed dancing. During high school, she fell in love with a classmate, and the two eventually married after turning 18, despite opposition from both families. The marriage didn't last. They soon realized they weren't ready for adult life, and within 4 months, they divorced. Afterward, Christine sought a fresh start and moved to Miami. She took any job she could find to stay afloat, waitressing, working retail, and doing promo gigs, till she was discovered by a modeling agent. Her first shoots were for fashion catalogs, but she was soon offered more provocative work with higher pay. She accepted, and it wasn't long before she was cast in adult films. She chose a catchy stage name, quickly rising in the industry. One of her standout roles was in a superhero parody, and she earned several awards for her performances. In February 2013, Christine launched her first boutique, which focused on intimate wear and lifestyle items. The store quickly gained popularity and eventually grew into a successful retail chain. At the time they met, both Christine and John were already established public figures, each with their own careers and branded merchandise lines. They were equally known in their respective industries. From the outset, their relationship was highly visible. They attended events together, award shows, red carpets, and industry parties, frequently posing for photos and giving joint interviews. As a couple, they even signed endorsement deals with major brands. In just a few months, John and Christine were viewed as a glamorous and inseparable pair. They appeared happy, talked openly about the future, and seemed to have it all. But the truth behind closed doors was much darker. Privately, John was just as aggressive and unstable as he was in the cage. While he maintained the image of a caring partner in public, in private he was possessive and controlling. He closely monitored Christine's actions, showed extreme jealousy, and often started arguments. His behavior eventually turned violent. Christine became the victim of repeated verbal and physical abuse. He threatened her, insulted her, and on multiple occasions allegedly grabbed her by the neck in anger. During one such outburst, Christine's mother, who was visiting at the time, witnessed it herself. Alarmed, she urged her daughter to leave John immediately. His temper was unpredictable. Once, in the middle of a fight, while they were in the car, John suddenly sped toward a wall, yelling that he would crash them both. Christine managed to grab the wheel and steer them to safety just in time. On another day, during a similar argument, she unbuckled her seatbelt and jumped out of the car at a red light. Christine tried several times to break up with him, but John always convinced her to stay bleeding, promising he would change. She knew the relationship was toxic, but was too afraid to leave, fearing what he might do. After about a year of enduring the cycle, Christine finally confronted him in April 2014. She expected a blow-up, but instead, John reacted calmly. He said he understood and agreed they should take a break. It seemed like he had accepted the end of the relationship, but that was just the surface. For the first month after they split, Christine lived in constant fear. She kept expecting John to reappear and harass her, but there was no sign of him. Slowly, her fear began to ease. She resumed her usual routines, and by July, she started dating someone new, a man named Corey Thomas. On August 8, 2014, Christine and Corey were in her Las Vegas apartment, lying in bed when John quietly entered using a key he had never returned. Without warning, he stormed into the bedroom and immediately began assaulting Corey, landing a series of punches. In a violent frenzy, John bit Corey several times, leaving deep wounds on his face, shoulders, and chest. He then straddled him and started choking him. Christine stepped in as she saw Corey losing consciousness. John suddenly released his grip, grabbed Corey by the hair, and threatened him, ordering him to leave and not call the police or he'd come after him. Shaken and afraid, Corey promised not to say anything, quickly grabbed his things, and ran out, still pulling on clothes as he left. He kept his word and didn't report the attack silence that nearly cost Christine her life. With Corey gone, John turned his rage on Christine. What followed was a brutal and prolonged assault, both physical and emotional. The abuse continued for over 2 hours. By the end, Christine was battered, bloody, and barely conscious. Believing she had passed out, John stepped into another room. In that moment, Christine managed to crawl to the window, open it, and fall outside. Luckily, her apartment was on the ground floor, and she survived the fall. She began screaming for help, and neighbors responded quickly, calling emergency services. Christine's injuries were catastrophic. John had broken her nose, cheekbone, and jaw. He knocked out 12 of her teeth and came dangerously close to blinding her in one eye. She also suffered fractured ribs, a ruptured kidney, and internal damage to her liver. She had a concussion, lost a significant amount of blood, and her body was covered in bruises, cuts, abrasions, and bite marks. Despite the severity of her injuries, doctors were able to stabilize her condition. But by the time she was able to speak and describe the attack, John had already vanished. He remained missing for a week until, on August 15th, he resurfaced on social media, posting his own version of events and claiming to be the victim. Authorities traced his phone signal and quickly arrested him. Strangely, Corey didn't contact police until 3 hours after the attack. By then, Christine was already in the hospital. During that silence, she had endured a life-threatening assault. Some questioned whether Corey should face charges for not acting sooner, but he claimed he was in shock and feared for his life. Ultimately, he was not charged and later testified in court as a victim. While awaiting trial in custody, Koppenhover attempted to take his own life. He fashioned a noose from a bedsheet and tried to hang himself in his cell. Thankfully, guards arrived in time and were able to intervene. The incident caused a delay of nearly 3 months in the court proceedings. During the trial, John tried to paint himself as the victim. He claimed that feelings of betrayal from his partner had triggered his actions. His defense attorney emphasized his troubled childhood and past trauma. hoping it would generate sympathy and result in a reduced sentence. On February 15, 2017, John Koppenhaver was found guilty on all charges. He was sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 36 years. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, hit the like button, leave a comment, and share this video. Your support really helps and means a lot.